Shanti, how are you? Have you ever wondered why good people always suffer? On the other hand, those who commit more and more mistakes, they live a very nice life without any problem. So why is it always good people confront many problems? That's the $1 billion question. So asking this question can be compared to asking why is it the river water tastes salty after getting dissolved in the ocean? So does it make any sense? Doesn't make sense, right? Any water after mixing with seawater will definitely taste salty. Likewise, anybody who is good at this time will definitely confront many problems because this world belongs to the wicked people. That is what Kali Yuga means. Kali Yuga means the world of wicked people. For example, it's 2020 now. So 40 years back, it was 1980. So people of 1980s were really good compared to people of 2020s. It doesn't mean they were good, but comparatively they were good. That's it. So people eventually became bad when they reached 2020. So now to belong to 2020, you should possess the qualities that is characteristic of 2020. But if you don't, for example, if you are nurtured in a very good family, they protect you so much that you are in no contact with the outside world, then it is possible that you have the good qualities that belongs to 1980. But they can't protect you throughout your life. Eventually you have to face the world. So that is when you will be encountering all sorts of problems. You know why? Because the situations will make you become compatible with that of 2020. How does it do that? By giving you problems. So when you confront one problem after another, you will eventually start reacting to it in a negative way, because you see all around you surrounded by negative people and they seem to thrive well. On the other hand, you are facing so many problems. So you will think for yourself that in order to survive in 2020, you got to behave badly as that of other people. So you start reacting to it by getting angry. So that's the success of Maya, because it has been successful in converting you into another wicked people, so that it has no problem. Just like any water that is mixed with seawater becomes salty, anybody who comes into 2020 will have to become wicked. But if you resist changing into the people of 2020, expect one problem after another. It will keep on coming towards you non-stoppingly. So what is the solution? Does it mean I have to become bad? So does it mean if I become bad, then I will have no other problem? It looks so on the surface, but in reality, that's not the truth. The truth is, if you manage to behave good somehow, even in 2020, then it is true that you will be facing many problems, but still you will not end up getting hurt. It looks as if you are bombarded with problems, but still you will not get hurt because you are steadfast in holding on to the values and disciplines of 1980s. So the boat, this lifeboat of good people will definitely shake a lot due to the wide turbulences of Maya, but it will not sink. On the other hand, the lifeboat of the wicked people, they won't shake. It will be very firm, but eventually it will sink down. Because if you have good values, it means you have got it from God. So if you are following good values, it means you are following the path of God. You are holding on to the hand of God. Do you think God will let you down? No, He won't. But still, this is Kali Yuga. So obviously, there will be constant effort to make you hold the hand of Satan or devil. But you got to understand this. This is the world of wicked people, but I'm not going to join the Satan army, the Satan's army. I'll be holding on to God no matter what. Even if the whole world goes towards Satan, doesn't matter, because they are eventually going to sink down. They are eventually going to fail. On the other hand, I'm holding on to the God's hand. I will never fail, because where there is God, success is guaranteed. But as I said, problems will definitely come. Expect it. You got to expect it. Only then you will not react. If you don't expect, only then you will react, and eventually you will become the Satan's army. So protect yourself. And you need to understand whether or not you are good or bad. Because those who consider themselves to be good and someone to be bad, even those bad people consider themselves to be good. So to put it simple, everybody considers themselves to be good people. So who is truly good? We got to understand that, right? So only those who hold on to God's hand are really good. So by God's hand, I mean who strictly follows the God's path. And where can we find His path? From any religion? No. Of course, God's knowledge is scattered in all religions. Despite that, none of the religion represent God's directions completely. It is there, it is mixed along with Satan's direction. So God doesn't come here to create any religion. So He comes in the end of Kali Yuga to create heaven, to give us knowledge that is required to enter heaven. This is a 5,000-year time cycle, and God creates heaven, and He creates us as deities, that is humans with divine qualities in the beginning. That was 5,000 years ago. And this continues to be heaven for the first 2,500 years. And what happens after that is it eventually gets converted into hell. The reason is, while we were in heaven, we would consider ourselves to be this imperishable soul that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows. While considering ourselves to be this tiny star, that is the soul, we will be experiencing intense pleasure, divine pleasure, continuously. So because we souls are embodiments of peace and bliss, so we were so focused internally, that is, we consider ourselves to be soul constantly. So we get that happiness, so that we don't depend on external things for happiness. So there won't be any sort of vices like anger, attachment, ego, lust. There won't be any vices. That is why it is called heaven. So everyone would be very beautiful, very wealthy, very healthy, and they will all be filled with divine qualities. They wouldn't have any devilish characters in that. Not one of them will have that. But after the completion of first 2500 years, we start developing the devilish characters as a result of forgetting the fact that we are souls. We lose soul consciousness and we become body consciousness, because of which we fall victim for these 5 vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment and ego. So that is when this world, which was heaven in the beginning, slowly becomes hell, and now it's deep hell, because we are now in the end of Kali Yuga. In the last 100 years, God himself comes. He enters an old man's body and gives this divine knowledge called Murli. You can get that direct knowledge of God, Murli, from any Raja Yoga meditation center, free of cost. So you can even SMS me at this number so that I can help you locate the center address. +9198 946 71743. So that knowledge is called Murli. It is available in all languages like Tamil, English, Hindi, Japanese, Punjabi, and so on. So why does God come in the end? To enable us to enter heaven. So to enter heaven, we must possess the qualities that we originally possessed in the beginning, like peace, bliss, love, everything. But now we are filled with all devilish qualities like lust, anger, greed, attachment and ego. We got to get rid of them. How is it possible? Because we don't have that power to get rid of those vices. So the only way to possess that power is to remember God, connect our mind with God. How does God look like? He is also a point of light, just like us. In this red color, golden red colored light world called Parandam, or the soul world, here God exists always as a point of light. He is also a soul just like us. We souls come from here, and towards the end of Kali Yuga, or the world gets destroyed due to the Third World War and other natural calamities, because of which we all have to get rid of this body and we got to enter back to the soul world. But we couldn't go there without becoming pure, because that's a pure world. So in order to become pure, there is only one way, that is to remember God constantly as a point of light, and we have to consider ourselves to be the point of light that is separate from this body. If you forget this, you will definitely commit one sin or another. So we got to remember God as much as possible, and we got to read Murli, and we have to follow his direction. And his direction, the core of his direction, is to remember God constantly, and we should never ever give pain or suffering to anybody or to us. That's the core of his teaching. No matter what happened, no matter how much harm somebody causes you, just be patient, because you might have done something in your past life. You may not be aware of it. So if you are allowing somebody to use painful words on you, it means your past sins are getting washed off. So that's a good news for you, right? You have committed sins, not only in your past birth, even in this birth. We all remember that, right? So just be peaceful and speak with them in a very peaceful and loving way. So once your sins get destroyed, you will be entirely surprised to see them behaving very lovingly to you. So as I mentioned earlier, expect the unexpected, expect the problems, but hold on to God's hand, which means you got to remember God as a point of light and also his teaching. So when you remember him, you will see that intense peacefulness that surrounds you. So that's something a very divine feeling that only you can experience. You can't put that in words. Once you experience that, you will not fall for the Satan. So we got to steadfast in holding to God's hand and never let it go. If somebody shouts at you, you got to understand that Satan has entered him and he wants you belong to him. How does it happen? Only when you react in a negative manner. Only when you get anger. If you get angry, then Satan is successful. On the other hand, if you recognize that it is Satan's work and it has nothing to do with the person who is shouting, so you got to separate that person from the Satan. He is under the influence of Satan. You got to understand that, and you got to remain peaceful by remembering God and His teaching during the time of conflict. How does it happen? You got to practice it when you are alone, when you are peaceful. Only then you can apply it when you are surrounded by such situations, because those situations doesn't come after invitation. It comes unnoticed, right? So you got to be prepared all the time. That is why God asks you to remember Him all the time, so that you will be filled with that power and also the awareness that you are not going to lose to the Satan. So that's why good people always confront one problem after another. So don't bother, just hold on to God's hand and you will not repent. On the other hand, if you have shouted, you will find to your embarrassment that you are getting more and more problem that you could have easily avoided in the first place if you haven't shouted back. So that's the God's path. If you follow God's path, you won't be facing more problems. Of course, you will be facing problems, but the amount of it will be reduced if you are following God's path. But if you use your mind or the directions of the world, then you will be surrounded with many problems. Then you will never experience peacefulness and blissfulness at all. So be cautious, hold on to God's hand, remember His word, and expect the problems and face it very peacefully, so that you will be peaceful forever. Because after all, God is with us. Why should we be worried? Because where there is God, success is guaranteed. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching, and like this video if you like it, and leave the comment and subscribe if you haven't. Om Shanti. Thanks again for watching.